So, that's me. I'm a little late, so hopefully people still get on. It's still kind of dark. They can see half my face. How does that happen? There we go. It's gonna me a little bit better. I might be overlapping somebody's live stream. I don't know. I know Marshall came on at 1 and he was still on at 2. And I don't know who else was supposed to be on at 2. But this is this is the 19th, which normally I do a live stream between the 19th and 26th, and I couldn't wait for the 26th. Oh, hey, Code with Samuel. I've noticed you in my comments lately. Hopefully some more people come in, so I'll have a few more people to read to. I'm a little late. Well, a lot late. I realized that my upload for the premiere, which was gonna be the first part of the story, would take an hour. And I didn't realize I didn't have it uploaded already. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm just going to upload it anyways and then post that for people to go to listen to after after they listen to this second half of the story, which not very long, but the first half is pretty long. I'm doing okay, Code with Samuel. I laid down to nap. I had an alarm on and didn't hear the alarm. And whoever turned it off didn't realize I was trying to actually get up. That's usually the time of day that I'm like out of it. Um, my condition kind of makes me extremely fatigued, and having a slow thyroid at the same time makes it where it kind of adds to that. So I passed out around 12:30, and I meant to be up at 1:30, and I woke up 15 minutes till 2. Then I found out someone else is live right now that we normally watch. They usually have 1 hour live stream, and right now their live stream is going to the hour and a half. So normally I do Saturdays, but the 19th fell on a Sunday. So I don't know if any of the usual people are going to realize I'm on right now. And I'll give it about another minute, and then I'll start reading the well, actually, I'll give it another minute and then I'll start talking about the first half of the story that I meant to have already uploaded. The name of the story is Daylight Allergy. I put sun allergy on it, so I have to correct it after it's uploaded. And it was set to go live, but I didn't realize it was going to take an hour to upload it. So I'll correct the title of it later. Yeah, hopefully more show up. Normally I have about 5 to 8 people, sometimes 10 people. And daylight allergy is basically, I meant to do sun allergy, but then I guess I decided to change it from sun allergy to daylight energy allergy so that people wouldn't mistaken the real actual condition, which is called sun allergy, that I'm writing about that when it's not literally sun allergy. It's just there's symptoms similar to sun allergy in the story. And the way that the character handles her supposed sun allergy is not the way that they handle sun allergy in real life. So it's a fictional story, but it's got some factual information in it. So the story, if I remember right, the story picks up where the lady's going to the hospital or has delivered a baby, and for the last 9 months of her pregnancy, she's had blistering and severe sunburns when she's out in the sun, and the doctors tell her it's sun allergy. But they also tell her that sometimes an allergy that you didn't have, you could get during pregnancy, which is actually something that really does happen to some people. They have a temporary allergy, unknown why that happens, but some others experience it, like they have temporary diabetes. I think what they call it for gestational diabetes. And once the baby's delivered, she no longer has the reaction to the sun, but she finds out the baby does have a reaction to the sun. And basically, what happened was she rarely ever goes to a bar by herself. She's supposed to have friends go with her. The friends didn't show up. And before she could leave, she had already had a couple of drinks. Well, a couple of guys that she knew around town were hanging out with her, and the random person showed up, and they were all talking together. And apparently, the random person who decided to stop by the bar is the one that took her home, and she didn't know who took her home until later when the baby was born, and she was too scared to ask the guys, because she felt that she irresponsibly put her in herself in a situation where something could have happened, but she didn't think anything had happened because she woke up fully clothed, no evidence that anything had happened to her. But then 3 months later, 2 months later, she started having the symptoms in the first month, but she thought she just was ill, like she was just having a bad episode. And within that second month, she got checked and she found out she was pregnant. And so after the baby's delivered, she takes the baby home. She finds out, yeah, it's a real thing that the baby will respond to sunlight with either reddening of the skin or blistering, depending on how long the part of the baby's been in the sun. When she leaves in the late evening when the sun is really kind of dim. The baby doesn't have a reaction to the sun because it's pretty much not full sun. It's really dim light. But she still has the baby mostly covered up. And the next day, while she's breastfeeding the baby, she checks the foot because she's close to a window, and she's got it slightly shaded so that she can breastfeed the baby without having a problem with the baby getting burnt by the sun. But she checks the foot that's closest to the sun and instantly turns red. So um, she pretty much goes through life trying to find ways to keep the baby preoccupied. And since it's a baby and the way that she deals with the baby, there's no real um, there's nothing to really worry about until the baby's old enough to be a child who wants to go out. So the story picks up when the baby's no longer a baby, and she's 7 years old, and she's pretty much tired of being inside all the time. She's been homeschooled because her mom had already set things up when she was a toddler, so she could learn and not have to go to school. She didn't want to go to school, but it would have caused a problem anyways because there's a severe allergy to the sun when you blister or you burn or you turn red or whatever. And that's not a situation that most schools are going to want to deal with. And it's a situation when you're a child that you're more likely to get exposed to the sun at some point. Um, Either when you're playing with other kids and you forget that, hey, I'm not supposed to get close to the sun, or you're used to playing, she's used to playing outside in the dim light. She can be out in the early morning before the sun's rays get really strong, because it's a strength of the sun that really she responds to the most. Thank you. I'm glad you so far like the idea of it. And so when she's 7, she is she first encounters a memory, because in the story she's re um remembering a incident that happened when she's 7, when she was sure that there was something weird about her, not what the doctor said, that something was weird with her. The One of the neighbor girls decided she wanted to come over and hang out, and she didn't really know how the girl knew she was there, but her mom didn't really want her to not have friends, so she didn't tell the little girl no, and she left it up to her to decide if she wanted to play with the little girl. So they played inside. The evening before the little girl came over, she was playing outside by herself, and she decided she would jump up in the tree off the porch, and she slipped and skinned her knee. And since she didn't she it was the first time she'd failed, because she don't really play outside, and she didn't realize she was going to have and scrape her legs, because she had shorts on, but she had sleeves on her arms. She had shorts on because it was summertime, it wasn't school time, it was pretty hot, and since she was playing behind the house where the sun was not shining, she was playing in the shade of the house. And when she skinned her knee, she did like some kids do. They just, take the finger, wipe the sore. And since she didn't have nothing to wipe it on, she didn't want to wipe it on her clothes. She just licked her fingers. It's just a little bit of blood. And the next day, when the little girl came over to play, she realized how clumsy the little girl was. And compared to the little girl, she moved like a cat. And at some point, the little girl fell in the sun, and she was crying, and being that she was a little kid, she didn't want to leave the other little kid and make her think that she didn't care when she fell. So she didn't leave to go get mom to help the little girl. She decided she was gonna pull the little girl out of the sun and see what she could do to help her. A little girl had skinned her own knee, and but the little girl thought there was no big deal, that the other one helped her with her knee. She asked her why she licked her finger when she had helped the little girl with her knee by wiping the blood off the knee. And then she went and got her mom to get the bandages, because she didn't have the band-aids available to her. She's only 7 years old, and kids tend to play with the band-aids whenever you leave them for the kids to play with, or where you leave them where they can reach it. So her mom went and cleaned the wound, and her mom was like, "You don't lick blood, and you don't use your hands. You clean it up properly, or else you could get it infected, or you can, your somebody else's blood you don't want to put in your system." The little girl didn't think much of it. Um, she kind of kept that to the back of her mind, and the little girl was gone the next day, the next 2 or 3 days. Um, so she just did what she usually did, preoccupied herself, and um, since she had got the little girl out of the sun that day and she didn't notice any burning, she kind of wanted to test it while she was by herself. They didn't really tell the little girl that she had a sun allergy. They just like, well, she's sickly, so she doesn't come out and play. And so when the little girl was gone, it was the next day, she decided she was going to try to see why she didn't burn. As soon as she put her arm in the sun, the first part of her arm started turning red immediately. So she yanked her arm back out of the sun. And she's like, okay, why didn't I burn when I helped the little girl? but I'm burning now. And then 3 days later, little girl comes over again, playing like usual. She's tripping and stumbling and stuff. Little girl's about 6 years old, about to turn 7. I'm glad you like the story. And she's like, "Why is this girl so clumsy? Like, this girl's just ridiculously always falling, sliding. When they're running around, she tries to keep the little girl from running, but she's like one of those little wild, hyperactive kids. Everything she does, she has to run." And so the little girl this time scrapes her elbow. She's running by something in the room, the dresser or something. She doesn't really know what she scraped her arm on because she's not watching the little girl at the moment the little girl gets her arm scraped. We just know she knew she ran into the room and the little girl said, "Ow," and she turned around and the little girl had a scrape on her elbow. So she's like, "I know mom said don't lick this wound, but the little girl's other wound seemed to be fine and her own wound seemed to be fine. There didn't seem, it wasn't really a wound, but it's a scrape. It didn't seem like anything happened." So she did what she did last time. And she had been thinking, okay, why is it that one day I didn't burn? What did I do that day I haven't done ever? What did I do that day that is different from today? So when a little girl goes home later, she helps her get her scrape bandaged up. She doesn't tell her mom that she licked the sore this time. Um, she took her thumb, wiped it on the scrape, and licked it off of her hand. She'd rather not get blood on her clothes, but for some reason she don't think there's anything wrong with her what she's doing. The little girl doesn't think much about it because every now and then, when a kid gets a scrape, they will get the blood off. Well, at least that's what I noticed when I was little. They get the blood off by the scrape by just cleaning it off with a little spit. When a girl goes home later, she was doing something with her mom, and she told her mom how the little girl got a scrape, but she told her accidentally later because she was telling her mom that she noticed that the day that the girl came over the first time, she didn't burn. She kind of couldn't figure out why there was a difference. She kind of, in the back of her head, she was thinking maybe she knew what could have been because she never had scrapes. She never. Her mom said only one time that she ever gets sick. She seemed to be extremely healthy, and it seemed to be hard for her to get injured or scrapes. Jumping into the lower part of a tree and falling out of it, yeah, somebody's going to get scraped up. Um, and the little girl, who's obviously clumsy, who wants to be her friend, is getting scrapes all the time. So the little girl doesn't think there's anything wrong with, cleaning the wound. If the other kid wants to take care of it, who cares? Um, so when the little girl went home, she decided she's going to go out and play. And while she's playing outside, she did like she did the day before. Okay, the little girl's over, just like before. Now she's going to see what happens. And sure enough, the little bit of sunlight she gets on her arm doesn't burn her. And she said, okay, so when a little girl comes over, I don't get burnt. Well, when a little girl comes over, the only thing that I do that she would think is unusual, that would be something that stand out, is she helps the little girl clean her wound. Was also what she did the day before. She was hanging out with the little girl to herself. So she doesn't burn. And she thinks about it, contemplates, okay, well, how she's going to test this because she doesn't want to get scraped up. Obviously it's going to hurt. She finds a way to get scraped up. So she decides that she's going to find one of mom's sewing needles because, usually when you're sewing and stuff, you don't expect the kids to go watch where you put your stuff and keep it put up and hidden somewhere. So she goes into mom's little crafting area and gets the sewing needle, pokes the little finger. But she waits, she gives it like a day. And she pokes her little finger. And this time she, drinks the little droplet from her. She, licks her finger because that's what she did the other times. She licked the sore. And she waits until the next day. to try that, and she doesn't seem to have a reaction to the sun. So she's like, well, that's the only thing that she could think that has to be that works, because that's the only thing that she's never had a friend, over at her house. She's gone to people's houses because her mom meets people, and but she never had like a little girl wants to play with her because all the other kids think it's strange that this kid's always sick and she's in at home. Well, this little girl didn't care. And she's so it's like she's carefree to the point of being clumsy all the time. And she's a little rough kid. Um, so she's realized that since she's not burning, she's gonna wait again, give it a couple of days, and then she's gonna try it. It's the weekend. The little girl should be coming over. Hey, Roy and Becky. I was kind of hoping somebody would show up. I'm in the first part of the session of the story. I just told basically that the mom was having reaction to the sun, like sun allergy people, that there's a real condition that's called sun allergy. The name of the story is supposed to be daylight allergy, not sun allergy, because I didn't want people to actually think that this stuff in the story was something that would really happen to treat this actual condition, sun allergy. So I put a little play in the words. And the little girl, the mom had the baby, but before she had the baby, she realized she had reactions to the sun, and the doctors told her she had a sun allergy. So when she had the baby, she's as careful as she can, while the baby's growing up, and keeping it where she doesn't have to be exposed to the sun. But the little girl's at 7, and she's at the age where you're overly curious and you get bored with staying inside. And she's had 2 incidences where she's come across a scrape on her own knee, and then a little girl's knee that came over to visit her, and then the scrape on a little girl's elbow. Well, when she's helped clean up the scrape, she realizes she doesn't burn in the sun. She kind of tested it out by seeing what happened between the times that the little girl came over. When the little girl came over and she waited a day and she tried the sun, she got a little red on her arm. When the little girl came over the next time, because this girl's so clumsy, she's always getting scrapes. So she helped the little girl the next time with her elbow. And it was the same way she helped her the first time. And she took her thumb, wiped the blood, and once she wiped the blood, she licks her thumb because she's not going to wipe the blood on her clothes. She doesn't want someone's blood on her clothes, but she don't think there's, your tongue cleans it up. Take care, Code Samuel. Thanks for coming. And so when she gets to be by herself after the second time the little girl comes over, and it's been a day, she's already seen that she turns red when the little girl's not there. And this time she checks the day after the little girl leaves, and she finds out that when she pokes her own finger and licks it, she also doesn't respond to the sun. So she's out playing. She does that, the first time she told mom, she got in trouble because her mom's like, you don't lick wounds, you don't lick suck blood, and you don't get the blood in your, from someone else in your mouth. Being that she's a kid, she doesn't really understand, like, because you don't tell kids that you can get sick from somebody's blood. You don't really think about it because you don't think your kid's gonna go and test out, how to clean somebody's sore with their tongue, or wipe it on their finger and then lick it. So now she's found out that when she's had a drop of blood, just a little bit of blood, she doesn't burn in the sun. When she doesn't have it, somewhere in a day or two afterwards, she hasn't figured out if it's a day or if it's 2 days, then she will burn in the sun. The real condition, there's ways to help you be more resistant to the sun. You're likely to blister just like the symptoms she has. You're likely to get a bad sunburn. And it depending on how long it takes depends on how bad your sun allergy is. It could be a matter of seconds, it could be minutes, it could be so many, it could be 10 to 15 minutes. With her, it's instant. And so they just assume that she's got a severe allergy. Or her mom, she would burn after a couple minutes of being in the sun. that's when she was pregnant with her. When she had the baby, she was no longer sensitive to the sun. Um, Now the little girl's old enough to try to test to see why, if what the doctors tell her and what moms tell her is real. And she noticed that she does have a reaction. Noticed that she doesn't have a reaction when she has had some blood. She, at this point, is more curious than anything. She's not. She doesn't really have a craving for blood, but now she's finding she's got some freedom if she comes in contact with blood. This is being told from a memory of of her 16-year-old self. The little girl's name is June. I don't remember if that was the last name, her last name or her middle name, but she goes by June. And ironically, it's like June for summer, which is just ironic because she has a problem with summer. She has a problem with the sun. As a 16-year-old self, she's trying to decide what job she's going to have when she gets ready to graduate. Well, she doesn't want to have the situation where she can't get access to blood because if she doesn't, she will burn. And she's already pale, so people make fun of her, you know, joking about her being a vampire and stuff. She mostly ignores people. She hasn't had any situation where anybody's actually hit her or, physically damaged her. They're just mostly words. Um, so the part of the story that I have now that I'm gonna read is picking up where she's kind of contemplating what she's gonna do with her life now that she's 16 years old, and they've told her to decide what she wants to be. Well, she decides she wants to be either a nurse or a tech that works in the hospital because at some point they come in contact with blood, and when you're in college, you don't have to have day classes. You can have evening classes. In high school, um, she's wise enough to figure it out. She started going to school somewhere near high school, like the end of middle school. I have to edit the first part of the story to tell you what when she starts to go to school, and what she does and how she handles the bullying. And when she's 16 years old is I just picked up at that point because originally she's just thinking back when she was 16 to that weird moment that she realized something was not normal with her. So as a 16-year-old, she's like, now I'm about to face life in another year as an adult on my own. And I realized how strange my childhood really was. I had to get smart to the fact that this condition leaves you looking just as odd as you feel. It's not if not for the difficulty in trying to maintain color, no one would really have noticed her strangeness. But she's pale. She's pale because she has to stay out of the sun so much. She doesn't get a chance to be in the sun long enough to tan. And if she does get a tan, it comes with a burn. Unfortunately, I watched enough sci-fi and horror to know what people thought of me by just my appearance. The sad thing was, they were right, at least one extent. I didn't I did need blood to live less bound to my condition, but I didn't need to drink it. I don't even like the taste, and I'm not sure I enjoy it. It's more stress than anything to make sure I get at least a drop of blood. A drop just to be able to go out long enough to get some errands done. Can you imagine? You're at home, ready to make a delicious meal, and then you find out you've run out of some important ingredients. Then, since you have an issue with the sun, and it's sometimes hard to keep track of when the last time you had a drop of blood, you don't know if you're going to blister in the sun today if you go out without having your sleeves and jacket on in the middle of the hottest part of the day. At least summer is the hardest time of the year for me. This is her talking. I'll read the story. I have the worst ordeal with normal everyday life requirements, shopping, helping mom when she needs, yard chores done, A friend wants you to come to the beach to swim, or just because you're sick and tired of being inside all day and just want to get out. You want to do something to curb the cabin fever creeping up on you, or feel a craving that is driving you nuts. I mean, we all want to get out to get a burger or to have a pizza sometime and not have to stay at home to enjoy it just because just because you have a sun allergy. I mean, from what I read in the last few years since I've started high school, the condition is real. However, other than the slight help from the diet and the tips the doctor and the internet give, you're still struggling with the fact that you get deprived more than most anybody, human or not, would ever want to be of of a drop of let's see of a drop of blood. If a drop of blood is all I need, then why haven't the doctors started trying to use this method to treat me? Those like me, I don't think I have ever really noticed or thought about it, seeing or meeting someone like me. Not as a child anyway. I've been too busy trying to seem to be normal, trying not to have people asking me questions or to plain bully me because I'm different. As a child, it never occurred to me to see if I could find someone out of maybe 20% that may have the same sun allergy, that may have to may have to live like me. But wait, how would I know if they use the same method, if they have to use blood too? How exactly would I bring up the conversation? Hi, my name is June. I noticed you're wearing sleeves and a dress covered as much as you can be. Do you have, by chance, ever have to use blood to see if it allows you to be out in the day, aside from the peak part of the summer? Basically, yeah, right. That's not a conversation you're going to bring up with somebody, especially if they have to be made fun of. They have to deal with being made fun of. And what would I think if if not the direct approach? If somebody came up to me saying, "Hey, you know," asking me these questions and dressed like me, I'd be thinking, why are they going as far as to look like me, to poke fun at me? That would make me angry. So the direct approach is not likely to happen. How could it bring up such a question if they look a lot like I do? Something I need to think real hard about. Something. It could be the differences in finally feeling accepted and having a close relationship with someone that has n- that was relationship where nothing has to be hidden. Wow, wow! Could you imagine? You finally get to be just you, no hiding my habits and having to make excuses for my daily routine, which someone notices after a while, especially if they find your strangeness interesting, overpowering their reason and manners with the need, yes, the need, not the desire, not the whim of curiosity, but the drive to know this, the one to be the one to discover this mystery. Sigh. I am not a mystery. I'm a person, and I have feelings and needs and desires like the next person. I'm not a movie, a show, or an animation for entertainment. Deeper breath. That rant aside, what do I do to approach someone who might not just look like me but thinks a lot like me? They're thinking, I'm tired of people patronizing me. I'd have to be very careful and be very patient. I've got to be delicate with the situation where I might be able to talk to someone, and that someone might have something in common, some common ground with me, or the one chance to ruin my last bit of normality, my hard effort of keeping other people from thinking I'm a monster or I'm insane. That's the second part of the session. The first part, unfortunately, Roy and Becky, hopefully you guys are still there. Um, it's still uploading. And the first part of it, there's a little bit more um, interaction with someone else. This part was just her thinking about her future. She's getting ready to go to college. She's planning what she's going to do, and she realizes I don't have anybody I can hang out with without feeling weird. And college is a new chance for the new beginning for a lot of people. And if people are going to the same classes the same time of day, and it's a state college, so she has a chance to maybe bump into somebody that's got the same situation. So now she's going to have to figure out how she's going to approach this person. Naturally, I'm going to have it where she gets brave enough to just like be helpful to the person. Hey, you want to hang out? You want to go to lunch? She can still eat normal foods. It's not like she has to have blood to live. So she can begin like anybody else, but she has a little awkwardness with her friendships because she doesn't really have people that she can just openly be friends with. Um, so that's that part of the second half of the story. The first part still loading. I thought I had it loaded, and I found that I didn't have it loaded. So that's going to be posted later today as about a 44-minute long post. It's a story, so it's not going to be really boring. I was going to do a premiere, but since it wasn't uploaded, it would have been perfect. 15 minutes worth of reading the second half and about 44 minutes worth of listening to the first half. So the first half is loading. When it's loaded, I'm gonna post it, and then I'm gonna change it. I have it Sun Allergy right now on the title. I'm gonna change it to Daylight Allergy, which is what the name of the story should be. So I hope you guys enjoyed the story. I didn't see any other comments, so hopefully I didn't like bog down or stop airing. Um, I know you guys haven't been in this that long, but I will close out because I've been here 37 minutes and almost 40 minutes. And it's mostly just about the story. And I got to work with getting the other story out so you guys can listen to that part of the story and continue writing on this part of the story from her thinking process, because nothing really happened in this part of the story that I read, to something that happens, something that she can interact with, something that's more fun. And RV Underway is now airing live, so we can raid RV Underway and say howdy to him and hang out there. Thanks for coming by. Code with Samuel and Roy and Becky's Travel. I appreciate it. Have a good day. Happy Sunday.